Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pope.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things we're talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Pope. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. We'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. We'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause the times is the man, the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
Times is the man, the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
Times is the man, the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio.
It's time to the man,
First
the
Contact
truth.
Radio. We have arrived. First Contact.
Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing? Welcome back to First Contact Radio. Well, it's Friday, the end of another week. We've made it. Man, February's here at the end of it. Well, we got this weekend, and that's it. So next week when we return, Monday will be the last day. And so next week we're already into March. So boy, this year's really moving along, isn't it? Moving right along, as well it should be. Okay, today is 26th right here, 26th of February 2016 on the Gregorian calendar. Our conscious mind sign, the sun sign, is in Pisces, which is a water sign. Water is our emotions, feelings. The unconscious mind, which is ruled by the sun, or represented by the moon, is Libra. Libra is an air sign. So we have an air sign and we have a water sign. Air and water. These are the two that are working together. I like to use the cards here because they get good representations. This represents Libra. This represents Pisces. The Pisces, we have the card of the moon in tarot, and it's all about how we move along the path of life using the process of faith. We come out of the water of life. We have to protect ourselves from all of the emotions, which is the whole idea of the shell. And then we evolve through life. We have the wolf, we have the dog that becomes more domesticated as the wolf. And we move towards the pillars of what we know. But then we always get to that point of moving into the unknown. And once we hit that unknown, that's where the process of faith comes in. Now, faith is not something that is blind. You often hear that faith without works is nothing. Well, that's true. Because faith is that thing that tells us we believe in something. And faith goes even deeper than just belief. But in order to put that into practice, we actually have to have that step. If we just say, oh, I have faith, and then we're not making that effort, So here, faith is going to require a journey through the darkness, knowing that the light still shines bright no matter how dark it gets. That this represents both the sun and the moon, so both the conscious and unconscious mind are always there. And so if we have faith that we are always connected to Source, then we move along the path without any issues. This is the tarot card representing Libra. It's a tarot card that represents the astrological sign of air, and it's all about balance. It's balance that comes from the air. The air is the words we speak. If we look at the tarot cards, remove the letter S from swords, because the suit that represents air is the suit of swords. Take the first letter S away. What are we left with? Words. So air is representative of words, the words that we speak. When we read through esoteric philosophy and materials, it says that God created with the Word, that Jesus was the Word. So God spoke that Word, and the Word came into existence. Therefore, the words that we speak, the actions that we take, have much impact on our lives. So we really need to be aware of that. Everything's energy, and the more powerful and we're able to use this energy, the more that we need to temper the way in which we use it, because we can have a thought and bring something into manifestation that we don't want. We could speak something into reality when we really don't want that spoken into reality. And so we need to be aware of this. And that is why it's important that we get control of our thoughts. so that we are able to bring into reality what it is we want to bring into reality. And if we're connected to Source, if we're connected to that higher power, then what we're bringing in is going to be brought in from that place of that higher power. That's the whole idea. So when we watch what's going on in the world and we see events taking place, rest assured those people in high positions of politics and religion and so on, they're very aware of what and how this is all used. They're very aware of the words that they speak, and so oftentimes it's very programmed, very scripted. So when you hear a politician or Obama say something, he knows what he's saying. Those words are going to have an effect in the world. And I believe he chooses those words carefully. I don't think he's a stupid man. I don't think he's a nice man. I don't think what he's doing is good at all. But I don't think he's stupid in the fact that he knows what he's doing. And he knows that if he says something, it's going to have a certain effect. Just like every other politician has done exactly the same thing. So if you listen to that, and if you listen to the words, it makes a big difference, okay? So here we have this air sign, and we see that we've gone void of course, actually at 5:18 a.m. So we actually have left Libra, and we're getting ready to move into the next sign, but that's not going to happen until 5:26 a.m. tomorrow. So the entire day, all we're left with is the remnants of this Libra as we move into Scorpio. So we're in that in-between phase, in between those words, and now we're moving back to the feelings of Scorpio, where we're going to be over the course of the weekend. And Scorpio is represented by the tarot card of death, which is all about emotions and feelings, because the death process isn't taking place necessarily on the physical level. We certainly see it on the physical level, but it's something that's taking place on a deeper level. It takes place first and foremost in the feelings, and then it moves from there. So here is the card that represents that. It's not about physical death. It's about the change that takes place, the transition that takes place when our feelings are affected. And then once our feelings are affected, that goes out and it affects everything around us. Because remember, we have fire, water, air, and earth. Fire is ideas, water is emotions, air is words and actions, and earth is what is created from that. So you get an idea, you sprinkle it with water, just like planting a seed. Take that idea, you plant that idea, you sprinkle it with water, the air comes along, it brings the inspiration, it expresses that idea out into the world, and now you have the physical form. And if we just always remember fire, water, air, earth, what is the elements that we're working with, it helps us to understand. And when we look at each one of these signs and we understand what element they are, then we can understand what kind of energies we're working with. So if we're working with an air sign, air moves. If we're working with a fire sign, fire flickers. If we're working with water, water can be stable and smooth, but it also can be rough. And so we know the difference. If we look at the water in the ocean or the seas, or even a bathtub, we know the difference between the water, how it's moving. And then we look at the earth. Earth is generally stable. If earth moves, it means something big is going on to shake the earth. So, all very easy to look at if you just take and look at what are the basic elements and how they're coming together. So some of the aspects that we've had over the course of this night that are playing themselves out are Saturn, which is helping us to discipline. Pluto, which is deep transformation. We have Mercury, which is our communication. We have Uranus, unexpected changes or events. And all of these things have already taken place, but we feel the effects of these over the course of this day as we're moving forward. And the one aspect that's coming up later today is Mercury is going to be in a nice, good position here, sextile, with Uranus, unexpected changes, surprises. So as we get later to this evening, we start to see that all of these aspects here play themselves out. We go through a whole day of being in a void of course place to now we have an opportunity from what we've learned to express and communicate in a different way, and be open for some sort of surprise, something unexpected coming our way in the way in which we communicate. And then, of course, over the weekend, we have Scorpio, a water sign, Saturday, Sunday. All right. Moon phase is 86.6% of the way full, making its way back down to the new moon, which we will have on the 8th of March. It'll be here before we know it in 2 weeks, a week from Tuesday. All right, Jewish calendar, 17 Adar. 17 Adar, the daily thought for today is catalyst. The size of the deed is not what matters. It's only the catalyst. One small deed could be enough to ignite a process to change the entire world. One small opening is all that's needed, and the rest will heal itself. Whatever you do, do it with conviction that this is the one last fine adjustment, the tipping point for the entire world. Kind of plays into the idea that one person can make a difference, that one person could be the catalyst that is a catalyst for great change. So don't ever discount yourself on what you think that you can do, and what you're presenting to the world is or isn't doing something. It is. Everything has an effect. Everything has an effect. I know we haven't looked at this in a little bit, but just a reminder, we have the 7 Hermetic principles. Principle of mentalism. We live in a mental reality. Everything is mental. The mind. Every bit of the mind corresponds to every other aspect of the mind. So the smallest part corresponds to the largest part. It's all communicating. Correspondence is like communication. Everything vibrates, has a different vibration to it. Everything has its various polarities. All the polarities move back and forth in rhythm. Everything we do has a cause and an effect. So what we do causes an effect to happen, and that effect leads to another cause. And all things work according to the principle of gender, which is basically masculine and feminine energies working together. And if we just remind ourselves of this, then we see and understand a little bit more how things are going. Everything we do has a cause and effect. So it goes back in that one person could have a great cause and a great effect on things just by what they cause to happen in the world. On the Dreamspell Oracle, it's a 4-tone day. We're in the wave spell here of the World Bridger, all about that veil between the world of life and death. So we're learning that lesson, that there is no difference. It's just a separation of our experience of reality in the visible and the invisible world. But both of them are intertwined together. So today is the 4th position, the stabilizing position, or the self-existing position, and the moon is the kin for today, the daily symbol. The guide for today is the serpent, our life force energy. Our hidden power is free will. The human like-minded energy is the dog, love and loyalty, and the storm is our challenge for today. The phrase for today, find in order to purify, measuring flow. I seal the process of universal water with the self-existing tone of form. I am guided by the power of life force. And today is a galactic activation portal day. We can see right here. It just means that the energies are combined from the various different angles here. And this energy is a reflection of this energy over on this side here. And it just means another opportunity where the energy is a bit intense, an opportunity for us to really make great strides in the way we use it. Solar wind, 409.0 kilometers per second. Planetary index, but we're going to be jumping up to a 3 the next 4 hours. Chrono hole at the top, you could see that's really shifted a little bit. The one at the bottom seems like it's going away. However, even the one at the bottom or even this little one here, are bigger than what we are shown the Earth is. So, pretty interesting indeed, if indeed the size descriptions are the same of what we think the sun is, which may not actually be the case. As around March 1st, 2nd, we'll be feeling the effect from there. M-class flare possibility 1%, X-class 1%, geomagnetic storm activity, mid-latitudes 10%, upper latitudes 20%, but remaining stable. And finally, up in the sky tonight, after dinner time, this time of the year, 4 carnivore constellations stand upright in a row from the northeast to south. They're seen in profile with their noses pointed up and their feet to the right. These are Ursa Major in the northeast, which is with the Big Dipper as its brightest part. Leo in the east, Hydra, the sea serpent, in the southeast, and bright Canis Major in the south. And that is our cosmic weather for today. UFO News is up next.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. Today's UFO News, we have 5 stories. The first one is in Costa Rica. This object in question looks like the traditional bell shape that we're aware of. We've seen many, many times. Here we have Uriel Volcano. We can see the mist of the volcano here. UFO was seen over Uriel Volcano in Costa Rica this week. It was probably exiting an underground base that is 4 to 5 kilometers below the volcano. Aliens often choose high peaks and volcanoes to make their base below because of their secludedness and difficulty for humans to explore. Thus, the risk of them being seen is low. The ship has a lot of similarities to the Friendship case craft in Rocca, Pia, Italy. Okay, you see the glass dome over the top. The eyewitness says, I was with my girlfriend visiting Uriel Volcano National Park in Cartago, Costa Rica. The weather was really nice, very good sunlight, not cloudy. The volcano is 3,400 MTS of altitude above the sea level, close to the biosphere. So we were above the clouds like when you fly an airplane. The sky was really clear, so at 11 a.m. on that altitude, part of the sky was light black. We were taking pictures of the volcano and the landscape. The clouds looked like a white sea, but I noticed close to one of the mountains some clouds with different forms. So I started to take pictures of them. Once we finished the tour, we headed back home. While I was checking the pictures, I noticed one black circle above the mountains that I hadn't noticed before. It looked like a circular saucer with 2 little antennas, one on top of it and the other like its tail. On the moment, while taking the pictures, I did not see it. I took the pictures in a burst. On one peak, you can see the object completely clear. The next one vanished almost in seconds. All the pictures have less than 1 minute of a difference. Okay, that's a good picture. It's just there for a moment, and then it was gone. Next sighting over a cattle in the mountains of Patagonia, Argentina. Object in question there above the mountains. UFO hovering near the mountains of Patagonia. I have a feeling it's a scientific data collecting craft, the kind that it either takes the animals away or dissects the creatures. There's nothing with laser sharp tools. The fact that it's over cattle proves that it finds the animals interesting. The shape of this Argentinian UFO matches the shape of the UFO seen back in 1999 at Mount St. Helens. Right, the eyewitness says commotion was caused by UFO in the mountains of Patagonia. Sighting happened between San Martin de los Andes and Villa Meliquina. The discovery was made when a family returned from vacation and carefully viewed the photos on a big screen. They noticed a foreign object in the air. Thus, they came to have these shocking images which would document the presence of a UFO in Patagonian soil. It is clear that the flying saucer, when analyzed with equipment it allows, gives breadth and improves resolution by the decision, but nevertheless it calls attention to the place where it was observed. by the camera of this family without people closer and the height of the object in flight. According to experts, an RC drone could not be handled at a great distance, which increases further the belief that it was portrayed as part of the memories for a summer holiday. Okay. Good capture there. New Jersey, Belleville. Bright light in the sky. First question, is a lens flare? So we look to see if it is. Doesn't appear to be because there isn't anything that might be flaring off of. It's not a reflection off the camera. Eyewitness says that at an Essex County suburb of about 35,000 people known as the birthplace of the Four Seasons, and a popular filming location for The Sopranos, to the list of New Jersey towns that might just get invaded by aliens. Rich T, who lives in the township with his wife and kids, says he's not a person who is normally on the hunt for unidentified flying objects. I'm not the kind of guy who sits in my front lawn with binoculars, he said, but on Saturday night, when he and his wife were putting their daughter into the car seat, they saw a light that looked like an orb or something flying overhead. The light, Rich said, flew from Bloomsfield, continued in a northeast direction, was briefly joined by second light, and then vanished. The light did not resemble a plane, helicopter, blimp, or anything Rich has seen before. He did some research about the drones, sky lanterns, and other flying technologies, but could not find one that matched the orb. When he said which he said was flying against the wind, Rich joins a long list of New Jersey sky watchers who think they may have spotted UFO above New Jersey. Last year, a controversial sighting was made in Wilmanboro. North Bingen has a long history with alleged UFO sightings. The National UFO Reporting Center cites hundreds of sightings throughout the Garden State. So is there an extraterrestrial activity over Belleville? Check out the video. Judge for yourself. The video is a minute and 23 seconds in length. And if we look at it, we just see what same pictures were showing there. The light hovering in the sky. And when we look at it like this, we could see it's moving. It's not a lens flare of any sort. Something is there. Flying saucer photographed over Mexico. Okay, this was in Oaxaca last year. You got to click on this link here to get the good image there, and there is an enlarged version. Okay, that's just coming through. It was from last summer. And finally, UFOs in Wales. It might seem like something out of X-Files, but 25 UFO sightings have been logged with the Mutual UFO Network in Wales since January 2015. According to the people who say they have spotted the UFOs, the sightings range from a craft as wide as a street to a white dot traveling 3 times faster than a jet. There was a total of 476 sightings logged with MUFON in the UK between January 1st, 2015 and the middle of February this year. While many more are skeptical about whether these are actual sightings or not, the stories that accompany them are interesting. May of last year, one Cardiff resident said that they were transfixed after spotting a UFO with a wingspan nearly the width of the street. They said, "I saw there was another identical one just behind it that appeared to be following it. There was barely any, if any, noise. I was transfixed as if they were so big. I was the only car driving down the street, and they must have seen me." Although there were no photographs of the sighting, the witness did manage to draw a sketch. Well, one witness from Pontypool said he was uncomfortable and anxious after spotting a strange hovering object below the moon after taking a photo of the night sky on February 21st. He said, "I zoomed in and the hair stood up on the back of my neck. I felt uncomfortable and anxious. It may have been terrestrial and insignificant if it weren't for how erratic it moved between each of those 5 frames." All right, there you go. That is our UFO news. 5 good stories showing us that people are still seeing things in the sky these days, and I don't suspect that's going to change anytime soon. Let's jump away. I'll be back. This is Wake Up. Wake Up. Wake up.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing, but they're losing from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, big brother's watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What if I land and two if I see? And I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
All right. Time to demand the truth, my friends. Time to demand the truth. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit here about what's going on with this election cycle because I think it's very important to the big picture here. I'm going to tie some things in. Donald Trump, as we know, is having a fantastic run at things. Now, he may not be the guy that is the be-all, end-all for all things, but in terms of what's going on, he seems to be the most qualified for the job. When he says he loves America and he wants to make it great, he seems to be very sincere about that, and he's gained a lot of support because of that. Now, one of the things he's talked about are the handlers and the donors and those who are behind all of the politicians that are telling them what to do, how to behave, what to say. Well, if we pay attention, we could see exactly what he's talking about, that he is telling the truth, and we see more and more of this when he talked about all the donors that were in the crowd for Jeb Bush, and then later it's discovered that yes, that was correct, that it was set up that way, that they were bringing in donors, against Donald. On and on and on. We've seen lots of examples, but last night was a really good example, and I want you to see this just in case you hadn't noticed it. This was at the very beginning when they were doing the opening Star Spangled Banner, and they're putting their hands on their heart, and you notice here Cruz has his hand in a very strange way. Donald's got his hand over his heart, but Cruz has his hand like this, and this isn't the first time that he has done this. Now, this is called the hidden hand, and it's a symbol. It's a symbolic gesture. So let's take a look over this. The hidden hand of Freemasonry exposed. And if we go through, it says most beginners looking into the truth won't have to have come across the hidden hand of Freemasonry. It's like a salute showing your allegiance to the Masons. Okay, and as we go through, I'm just going to do this real brief. You could see all of these characters with their hands inside like this. Stalin, Egyptian President, Tom Hanks, Kanye West, Karl Marx, there's Obama, Napoleon, okay? On and on. On and on. The hidden hand. The hidden hand. So, what have we got going on here? The hidden hand. So what is this saying? This is just saying and confirming exactly what is being said, that these people are all controlled. And here he is controlled. And who else happened to be in that audience last night? George H.W. Bush happened to be there as well. So, coincidence? Probably not. These people are all controlled, just like Donald is saying, just like he's exposing them. They are so fearful of what's going on. So if we pay attention in society, we can actually see these signs. That's what's going on. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because it happens real quick, and I've mentioned it to a few people when it was going on, and they didn't catch it. If people aren't paying attention, then it's real easy to put these things by. And oftentimes, the term hidden in plain sight is very, very real. Things are hidden in plain sight because most people aren't going to see and notice. Unless someone is initiated into what the meaning is, they're not going to know. They're just going to dismiss it. People will say, oh, it was just, that's just how he puts his hand. He's just putting it closer to his heart. People will make all sorts of excuses if they don't understand. And therefore they can do this in plain sight. But there it is for everyone to see. He's doing the hidden hand, and you can go through and you can find other pictures where he's doing exactly the same thing. Ted Cruz is handled by somebody. He is speaking on behalf of somebody else, his donors, his handlers, whatever the case may be, the Illuminati, whatever the case may be. Right there is your proof, okay? So, it's right in front of our faces, my friends. We need to pay attention. So there's something really important going on, which ties me and brings me into what we're going to discuss today, which ties into what we've been learning. I'm going to go and we're going to backtrack a little bit to some stuff we've gone over, because now that we've been going through we've gone through a number of the Nag Hammadi library text. I've shown you how I believe that the information there connects to what's going on to this earth and the shape of this earth, and that how this earth is a counterfeit reality of the immortal realms, and how I believe that this earth, based on the descriptions that we're giving in every major religion, that this earth is a flat plane. It is not a round globe in which we've been told it is. I don't believe that we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour right now, and then our whole system is going 67,000 miles around another system, and that system's going 150,000 miles around another system. I don't believe that's what's going on. I believe that the ancients, and I've shown you all the pictures of what the ancients believed, I believe that we are living on a flat plane, and I'm not the only one. And I've been studying this now for nearly a year, very in depth. And I didn't go into this saying I want to believe that this earth is flat. I went into this thinking this is the dumbest thing ever. This is the stupidest thing I've ever looked at. People are going to laugh at me and ridicule me for doing this. But there's something to it that I just couldn't get past. And for me, it was understanding that every major religion upon this earth, up until 500 years ago, described the earth as being a flat plane. Every single one of them. So what changed? What changed was 500 years ago, or a little more than that, during the Renaissance period of time, groups associated with the Masons, Illuminati, the Jesuits, groups that had the hidden hand thing going on there, had an agenda that they pushed forth. And they put forth this agenda of a globe, which is opposite of the other agenda, or the other description. And with this globe, now a lot is done, a lot is hidden. Because if we really are led to believe this, then whatever was taught by all of these religions is suddenly discredited. So you mean to tell me we're supposed to discredit all of the religions? Every spiritual thought that was on this planet, are we supposed to just discredit that and throw that out because group associated with secret societies came along and said, no, this is really how it is? I don't think so. I think there's an agenda at hand, and with that agenda, as we can see, many things are hidden. The shape of the earth, well, that's not the thing that's hidden so much. It's who created that. The being that created this world, as we've come to understand, is not the be-all, end-all God. He's not the Almighty God. He was the fallen one. The fallen one who came from the immortal realms, was cast out, and here is in this reality. And he created, out of a state of ignorance, many other beings in a reality, ignorant of his connection. Now, when he learned that he was connected to this higher power, this higher source, instead of accepting that and then moving forward, he became arrogant because he simply wanted to be able to go ahead and live this world and set it up the way he wanted. So here, we're going to take a look at this word Archon. Now, the word Archon here is a Greek word that means ruler or lord, frequently used title of a specific public office. As civic and religious leaders, Archons were responsible for organizing theatrical performances during festivals, playwrights, whatever. Okay, so mainly, you could see here, ruler or lord. Okay, Archons. Now, we're going to move on from here. Here's another article here. This is from John Lash. Has a lot of great articles and great information on this subject. We're just going to look at some of it today. It says, from Greek, archai, origins, beginnings, things prior to time. In classical Mediterranean world, Archon was commonly used for the governor of a province, or more loosely, any religious or governmental authority. Hence, the plural Archons is often described in Gnostic text as the authorities. Okay, there's no Coptic word for Archon, so Gnostic texts used the Greek term in Coptic translation. It's pronounced Archon, or the adjective is archonic. Okay, it says in Gnostic cosmology, Archons are a species of inorganic beings that emerged in the solar system prior to the formation of the Earth. They are cyborgs inhabiting the planetary system, exclusive of the Earth, Sun, and Moon, which is described as a virtual world. They construct by imitating the geometric forms emanated from the Paroma, the realm of the generators, the cosmic gods. The Archons are a genuine species with their own proper habitat. They may even be considered to be godlike, but they lack intentionality, enoia, or self-directive capacity, and they have a nasty tendency to stray from their boundaries and intrude on the human realm. Archons are said to feel intense envy towards humanity because we possess the intentionality they lacked. The Gaia mythos describes how the Archons were produced by the fractal impact in the dense elementary field arrays, or the DEMA, of the galactic limbs when the Aeon Sophia plunged unilaterally from the galactic core. Okay, so we can go on from there, but I'm just going to leave that. And let's look at this next one. Gnostics, Annunaki, Archons, and the Reptilian agenda. In a collector's edition of the Da Vinci Code, Published by U.S. News and World Report, there is a brief interview with James Robinson, general editor of the Nag Hammadi Library. In response to Dan Brown's reference to the Nag Hammadi text or scrolls, Robinson points out that they are codices, books with individual pages that are actually the oldest example we have of a leather-bound books. Amazingly, with the significance of their content, and we have just barely begun to comprehend what this might be. The Nag Hammadi are rare original artifacts. A close reading of the theories of these artifacts materials shows that the Gnostics were deeply concerned with the alien intrusion into human affairs. The entities they called Archons appear unidentical to the ETs of modern ufology. Both gray and reptilian types are explicitly described in the codices. I would estimate that up to the 1/5 of the core material in the Nag Hammadi codices concerns the Archons, their origins, methods, and motives. The Sophia mythos, the Gnostic creation story, explains that the Archons arise due to the anomaly in the cosmic order. The world system we inhabit came about by a mistake. This startling line alludes to the Gnostic theory that the solar system was produced by the impact of the goddess Sophia upon lifeless atomic matter, but the Earth was formed from Sophia's divine, alive, self-aware power. Odd as it sounds, this view is totally compatible with the modern astronomy. We know that the solar system is at large is dominated by inorganic chemistry and does not support life as it occurs in the biosphere, where organic chemistry is the norm. Gnostics would argue that this is so because the Earth is the embodiment of Sophia, while the solar system is the product and the habitat of the Archons. The observation of this difference between the inorganic and organic species of our solar system led James Lovelock to formulate the Gaia hypothesis. Okay, and if we go here, this page here, Exopolitics, Archons, Exorcising Hidden Controllers, with Robert Stanley and Laura Eisenhower. Nice, good video here. Says Archons are hidden negative controllers of humankind, inorganic, interdimensional entities that must now be exposed and exorcised from the individual human mind, from our human species, and from our planet as a whole, as part of our collective evolution to a new state of consciousness and being. This is the vital message that Robert Stanley and Earth advocate, global alchemist Laura Magdalene Eisenhower brings to us. Okay, so that brings us to the Nag Hammadi Library, the reality of the Archons, the reality of the rulers, the hypostasis of the Archons. So I'm going to read a little bit of this. Because of the reality of the authorities inspired by the Spirit of the Father of Truth, the great messenger, referring to the authorities the darkest, told us that our contest is not against flesh and blood, but rather the authorities of the universe and the spirits of wickedness. I have sent you this because you inquire about the reality of the authorities. Their chief is blind. Because of his power and his ignorance and his arrogance, he said with his power, I am God and there is no other but me. And when he said this, he sinned against all. The speech rose up to incorruptibility. And then we know now the incorruptibility is the higher realms. And then there was a voice that came forth from incorruptibility saying that you are wrong, Samael, that is the God of the blind. His thoughts became blind, and having expelled his power, that is the blasphemy of he had spoken, he pursued it down to chaos and the abyss, his mother. Now his thoughts became blind right here, expelled his power. So what was this power he expelled? His word. Okay, the air. That is the blasphemy he had spoken. So we see the power with that. His thought, the fire, the water, the emotion, the arrogance, and he expressed it as a word. And he pursued it down to chaos and to the abyss, his mother, at the instigation of Pistis Sophia. She established each of his offspring in conformity with its power after the pattern of the realms that are above. Okay, so they made a copy of this reality based on the ones above. Okay, so all of what we are living in is a counterfeit, a copy of that realms. For by starting from the invisible world, the visible was manifested or invented. As incorruptibility looked down into the region of the waters, her image appeared in the waters, and the authorities of the darkness became enamored of her, but they could not lay hold of that image which had appeared to them in the waters because of their weakness, since beings that merely have a soul cannot lay hold of those that have spirit, for they were from below, while it was from above. This is the reason why incorruptibility looked down into the region, so that by the Father's will she might bring all into union with the light. Now the rulers laid plans and said, "Come, let us create a human that will be soil from the earth." And they modeled their creature as wholly of the earth. The rulers have bodies that are both female and male, and the faces are the faces of beasts. They took some soil from the earth and modeled their man after their body, after the image of God that appeared to them in the waters. They said, "Come, let us lay hold of it by means of the form that we have modeled, so that it may see its male partner, we may seize it with the form that we have modeled." Not understanding the partner of God because of the powerlessness, and he breathed into the face of the man, and came to have a soul, and he remained on the ground for many days, but they could not make him rise because of their powerlessness. And like storm winds, they persisted in blowing, that they might try to capture the image which appeared to them in the waters, but they did not have and know the identity of its power. So God looked down, incorruptibility looked down. They saw this feminine presence of God looking down and reflected into the waters, and they wanted to capture this. So their idea was to create this image, this masculine image that would capture this feminine image. And it was all about capturing the Spirit of God. That's what the bodies were created for. Now, all of these events came to pass by the will of the Father. So this whole time, even though Yaldabaoth is going on, being ignorant, being arrogant, the Heavenly Father knew all things. Okay, you can't hide from Great Spirit what's going on. Afterwards, Spirit saw the man of soil on the ground, and Spirit came forth from the adamantine land. It descended and came to dwell in him, and that man became a living soul. And the Spirit called his name Adam, since he was formed moving upon the ground. A voice came forth from the incorruptibility for the assistance of Adam. The rulers gathered together all of the animals of the earth and the birds of the heaven, and brought them to Adam to see what Adam would call them, that he might give a name to each of these birds and these beasts. The rulers took Adam and put him in the garden, that he might cultivate it and keep watch over it. They issued a command, saying, "You can eat from every tree, but from the knowledge of tree and evil don't eat nor touch, for on that day you will die." They said to him, but they did not understand what they said. Rather, by the Father's will, they said this in such a way that he might in fact eat, and that Adam might not regard them as would a man of exclusive material nature. The rulers took counsel with one another, and they said, "Come, let us cause a deep sleep to fall on Adam." And he slept. Now the deep sleep that they caused to fall on him was the sleep of ignorance. They opened up his side, which was like a living woman, and they built up his side with some flesh in place of her. And Adam came to be only with soul. The woman of spirit came to him and spoke with him, saying, "Rise, Adam." And when she saw her, he said, "It is you who have given me life. You will be called mother of living, for she is my mother. She is the physician and the woman she has given birth." The authorities came up to their Adam when they saw his female partner speaking with him, and they became very excited and enamored of her. And they said to one another, "Come, let us sow our seed in her." And they pursued her, and she laughed at them for their foolishness and then blindness. And in their clutches she became a tree, and left before the shadow reflection, resembling herself, and they defiled it foully. So that Spirit was able to go in and out, and that Spirit entered in, and the Spirit left. So they were just simply, doing what they were doing with this tree here, defiling the tree, but there was no Spirit within that. And they defiled the seal of her voice, so that by the form that they had modeled, together with their own image, they made themselves liable to condemnation. Then the female spiritual presence came into the form of a snake, the instructor, and it taught them, saying, "What did he say to you? Was it, 'From every tree of the garden you shall eat, but from the tree of recognizing good and evil do not'?" The woman of flesh said, "Not only did they say don't eat, but they said don't even touch it, for the day you eat from it you will surely die. The snake, the instructor said, it is not that case, and that you will not die, for out of jealousy he said this to you. Rather, your eyes will be open, and you will be like gods, recognizing good and evil. And the female instructing power was taken away from the snake, and she left it behind, merely a thing of the earth. So we have the spirit entering the snake, providing the wisdom, and then leaving. And the woman of flesh took from the tree and ate. She gave to her husband as well as herself, and those beings who possessed only a soul ate. And once they ate, their imperfection became apparent in their lack of knowledge. They recognized that they were naked of the spiritual, and they took fig leaves and bound them around themselves. Then the chief ruler came and he said, Adam, where are you? For he did not understand what had happened. See, this is how you know. How would God, the All, not know what was going on? Earlier, it tells us that the Father knew everything was going on. He knew about Yaldabaoth. And so now all of a sudden we have a different being. This is Yaldabaoth. He doesn't know what's going on, but he wants to be God and claims to be God, but he's ignorant. He's arrogant. He doesn't know. Adam said, I heard your voice and was afraid because I was naked and I hid. The ruler, who in this case is Yaldabaoth, or we know him from the Bible as Yahweh, said, why did you hide unless it is because you have eaten from a tree from which alone I commanded you not? You have eaten. Adam said, the woman you gave me the fruit. I ate. And the arrogant ruler cursed the woman. The woman said, the snake led me astray, and I ate. And then they turned to the snake and cursed its shadow reflection so that it was powerless. They did not comprehend that it was the form that they themselves had modeled. From that day the snake came under the curse of the authorities until the perfect human was to come. The curse fell on the snake. They turned to their Adam and took them and expelled them from the garden along with his wife, for they have no blessing since they are under the same curse. Moreover, they threw human beings into great distraction, into the life of toil, so that human beings might be occupied by worldly affairs and might not have the opportunity of being devoted to the Holy Spirit. So this is what's going on to this day. Okay? Human beings are so occupied by worldly affairs that we don't take the time. And so then religions were set up in order to try to bridge this gap, but these religions are all systems of control as well. Now afterwards she bore Cain, their son, and Cain cultivated the land, and thereupon he knew his wife again, and she became pregnant. She bore Abel. And Abel was a herdsman of sheep. Cain brought in from the crops, but Abel brought in an offering from among his lands. God looked at the votive offerings of Abel, but did not accept them, the offerings of Cain, and fleshly Cain pursued Abel his brother. God said to Cain, where is Abel your brother? He answered, saying, am I my brother's keeper? God said to Cain, listen, the voice of your brother's blood is crying up to me. You have sinned with your mouth. It will return to you. Anyone who kills Cain will let loose 7 vengeances, and you will exist groaning and trembling upon the earth. Adam knew his partner Eve, and she became pregnant and bore Seth to Adam. And she said, I have borne another man through God in place of Abel. Again, Eve became pregnant, and she bore Uriel. And she said, she has produced for me a virgin as an assistance for many generations of human being. She is the virgin of whom the forces did not defile. And then humankind began to multiply and improve. Now, the one thing it leaves out in this particular story is where Cain came from. Okay, she bore Cain because Yahweh, Yaldabaoth, raped her. As we get into the other stories, remember from the secret gospel of John, the Apocryphon of John, it says in there, and many of the other books. Okay, and we've got the flood. The rulers took counsel with one another and said, come, let us cause a flood with our hands and obliterate all flesh from man to beast. But when the ruler of the forces came to make the decision, he said to Noah, make yourself an ark from the wood that does not rot, and hide in it, you and your children and the beasts and the birds of heaven, from small to large, and set it upon Mount Sur. The Uriel came to him, wanting to board the ark, and when he would not let her, she blew upon the ark and caused it to be consumed by fire. He made the ark a second time. The rulers went to meet her, intending to lead her astray. Their supreme chief says, "Your mother Eve came to us." But Uriel turned to them and said to them, "It is not you who are the rulers. It is you who are the rulers of the darkness. You are accursed. You did not know my mother. Instead, it was your own female that you knew. For I am not your descendant. Rather, it is from the world above that I have come." So here we've got Yaldabaoth. Yahweh is trying to tell Uriel, who is a daughter of Eve, that he's the father. But she wasn't buying it. She wasn't having any of that, because she knew that her mother didn't go to him, and it wasn't the mother that was there, that the spirit left, and that all that was being done at that time was he was raping his own physical creation. The spirit of God, was not affected. And so Uriel claims right here she's from God. She's from the higher power. She has nothing to do with Yaldabaoth. At this point, the arrogant ruler turned with all of his might and his countenance like a blazing fire, and he said, "You must service us, as also did your mother." But Uriel turned with her power. In a loud voice she cried up to the Holy One, the God of all, "Rescue me from the rulers of unrighteousness. Save me from their clutches at once." The great angel came down from the heavens and said, "Why are you crying up to God? Why do you act so boldly towards the Holy Spirit?" Uriel said, "Who are you?" The rulers of unrighteousness had withdrawn from her. He said, "I am Lilith, Sangasity, the great angel who stands in the presence of the Holy Spirit, and I have been sent to speak with you and to save you from the grasp of lawless, and I shall teach you about your root." Now as for the angel, I cannot speak of his power. His appearance is like fine gold, and his raiment like snow. No, truly my mouth cannot bear to speak of the power and the appearance of his face. Lilith, the great angel, spoke to me. "It is I," he said, "who am understanding. I am of the four luminaries who stand in the presence of the great invisible spirit." So if you recall, we had the mother, the father. Let me jump over here. Okay, recall we have the mortal realms, the mother, the father. They gave birth through their interaction to the spark of the divine autogens Christ. And from the divine autogens Christ, four lights came forth. And he's one of these four lights. One of these four lights here. Okay. Continuing on, it says that Lilith, the great angel, spoke to me. Okay, he says, "I'm one of these four lights. Do you think that these rulers can prevail against the root of truth? For on its account it has appeared in the final ages, and these authorities will be restrained. And these authorities cannot defile you and that race, for your abode is in incorruptibility, where the Virgin Spirit lives, who is superior to the authorities of chaos and their universe." But I said, "Sir, teach me about the authorities. How did they come into being, and by what genesis, and out of what material, and who created them in their power?" The great angel Lilith, understanding, spoke to me, saying, "Incorruptibility inhabits limitless realms. Sophia, who is called Pistis, wanted to create something alone without her partner. What she created was celestial. A veil exists between the world above and the realms below, and the shadow came into being beneath this veil. The shadow became matter, and what shadow was projected apart, and what she created became to be in matter was like an aborted fetus. It assumed the shape molded out of shadow, and became an arrogant beast resembling a lion. It was androgynous, as I've already said, because it derived from matter. Opening his eyes, he saw the vast quantity of endless matter, and he turned arrogant, saying that he was God and there was no other besides him. And when he said that, he sinned against all. A voice from the realm of the Absolute said, "You are wrong, Samuel, God of the blind." And he said, "If any other thing exists before me, let it become visible to me." And at that point, immediately, Sophia pointed her finger and introduced light into matter. She pursued it down to the region of chaos, and she returned up to her light. Once again, darkness returned to matter. The ruler, by being androgynous, made himself a vast realm, an endless precinct, and he contemplated creating offspring for himself. He created 7 offspring, androgynous like their parent. And he said to his offspring, "I am the God of all." Zoe, the daughter of Pistis Sophia, shouted to him, saying, "You are wrong, Sakla. It's another name for Yaldabaoth as well as Yahweh. She breathed into his face, and her breath became a fiery angel for her. And that angel bound Yaldabaoth and cast him down into Tartaros at the bottom of the abyss. Now when his offspring, Sabaoth, saw his strength of that angel, he repented and condemned his father and his mother Matter. He loathed her, but he sang songs of praise up to Sophia and her daughter Zoe. And Sophia and Zoe found him and put him in charge of the seventh heaven below the veil between above and below. And he is called the god of the forces, Sabaoth, since he is above the force of chaos, for Sophia placed him there. Now when these events had come to pass, he made himself a huge four-faced chariot of cherubim and harps and lyres and infinity of angels to act as ministers. Sophia took her daughter Zoe and had him sit at the right hand to teach him about the things that exist in the eighth heaven, and the angel of wrath she placed at his left, since on that day his right has been called life and the left has signified the unrighteousness of the realm of absolute power above him. It was before your time that they came into being. Now when Yaldabaoth saw him in this great splendor at the height, he envied him, and the envy became something androgynous, and this was the origin of envy. And this envy engendered death, and death engendered his offspring, and gave each of them charge of its heaven, and all the heavens of chaos became full of their multitudes. But it was by the will of the Father of all that they came into being, after the pattern of all of the things of above, so that the sum of chaos might be attained. There I have taught you about the pattern of the rulers, and the matter in which they were made visible along with their parent of the universe. But I said, Sir, I am also for matter. He says, you together with your offspring are from the primeval Father. Their souls come from above, out of the incorruptible light. Therefore the authorities cannot approach them, since the spirit of truth resides in them, and all who have known this way exist deathless in the midst of dying people. Still the offspring will not become known now. Instead, after 3 generations will come to be known and free from the bondage of the authorities' error. Then I said, Sir, how much longer? He said, until the moment when the true human within a modeled form reveals the existence of the spirit of truth that the Father has sent. Then he will teach them about everything, and he will anoint them with the unction of eternal life given to them from the generation without a king. Then they will be free of blind thought. They will trample on death, which comes from the authorities. They will ascend into the limitless light where the offspring belongs. Then the authorities will relinquish their ages, and their angels will weep over their destruction, and their demons will lament their death. Then all the children of the light will truly know the truth, and their root, and the Father of all, and the Holy Spirit. They will all say with a single voice, the Father's truth is just, and the child presides over all, and from everyone till the ages of ages. Holy, holy. Amen. So, I wanted to read all of this because now that we've gone over so much about the Nag Hammadi and tying this together just to kind of see where the different understanding is. But we've got the fallen one who came down. He came down and he was cast out of the immortal realms because Sophia, his mother, made a mistake. She ultimately redeemed herself because then she reached up to the father, to the mother, confessed her mistake to them, was sorry for her mistake. They helped her to regain the power because when Yaldabaoth, Yahweh, left, he took part of his power with him. That's how he was able to go and create, because he had part of that power, that light. But he didn't know it. He was arrogant. He was ignorant first, and then when he found out the truth, became arrogant, and then became jealous. So here we are, all these years later, trying to find out the truth of who we are. But if we simply look at the biblical story and we don't investigate further, then we just move along through life, not realizing that life was created, or humankind was created by the error, by the fallen one. And therefore, the intents and the arrogance was also part of that creation, and is the only thing that redeemed us from this state that we're in, is awareness of the Father. And once that awareness is there, that veil is ripped aside. We see the truth of what is out there. And as we saw that there are those who are assisting the good, there are those, we could see that Yaldabaoth was tossed aside down to Tartaros. He was replaced by his son. So there's been this battle going on behind the scenes. It's been playing out for a long, long, long time. So when we see events that are happening in the world, we have to find out what is their origin, because they're not just happening of their own accord. Ted Cruz isn't going up there and just putting his hand in there doing the hidden hand because he has nothing better to do. He's doing that because he's been influenced by those before him who have been influenced by those before him, on and on and on. And all of these characters are still being influenced from behind the scenes by these Archons, by these authorities, not authorities on earth, but authorities that are in the higher realms and dimensions within this system, not in the immortal realms, because they have no power in there, but they do have some control in this area. Only until someone gets wise, only until somebody connects with Source. The moment you connect with Source, it's over for them, because they have no power, no authority. That is why the mission of Jesus Christ was so important, because Jesus came to show us this spirit that flows through us, that is connected to the Father, is the spirit that will save us. And humankind doesn't need to redeem itself from some sin that humankind created. Because as you see from the story, it wasn't humankind that created the sin. The sin occurred before that. Humankind was created by an ignorant, arrogant being who chose to keep us from having the wisdom. But God stepped in and showed how we could have that wisdom. And therein lies our battle. Are we going to go the path of darkness and remain ignorant, or are we going to go the path of spirit and become aware? And the moment we become aware, we're connected. The darkness has no more hold. It will try to do things, but it has no hold. And that's where faith comes in at the next point. The faith of knowing that there is the higher source. And once we connect, we're connected. All right? So there you go. That was a little bit of a long-winded approach to all of this. There's certainly a lot more. We're going to continue to dig into this because we want to get to put this puzzle all together to see who all these characters are. But this gives us a good understanding. Archons, Yahweh, Yaldabaoth. They're all the same dark entities that are causing problems. But again, the Father of all, knows all, sees all, is aware of all of this. And I can guarantee you, the Father, the Mother, the Christ is cheering for each and every one of us and pulling for each and every one of us to connect to that source, knowing that we will. That we've gone to the ultimate separation from them, and now is the opportunity to return. It's not really that difficult. It's a long story, but it's just a matter of going inside and understanding that the spark is in there. So it now brings light, no pun intended, to the stories when Jesus would say we can't hide our light under a bushel basket. It's that light of spirit that flows through us. We've got to let the light shine. Let it shine bright. Let it shine bright, and all will be amazingly well. So that brings us to our meditation for today. So let's go ahead and, actually, you know what? Let's take a moment here. Let's listen to this message from Archangel Uriel, and then we'll get into our meditation. Here we go.
A message from Archangel Uriel after healing. Bless your scars February 25th, 2016. Channeled by Jennifer Hoffman. Every wound leaves a physical scar that is different in appearance from your normal skin. It is a lasting reminder that there was once a broken place there which is now healed. Every emotional wound also creates a scar, one that is invisible in the physical world, but very real in the emotional and energetic reality. While physical scars no longer hurt, emotional scars do, and they can either be lasting reminders of your pain or confirmations of your healing, growth, and transformation. After healing, bless your scars so their message is one of positive, loving acknowledgement of your transition into wholeness and that your healing is truly complete. Physical scars are created by the body to replace the skin that has been damaged, and they do not look like regular skin. The wound has forever changed the body's integrity, and the scar is a reminder of that healing that occurred there. It brings the skin into wholeness, but not by creating an environment that is wound free. Emotional and energetic scars are a similar reminder of a wound that has forever changed the integrity of the energy and emotions in a situation, and within your life path, and they also remind you that this was a place for healing and confirm that healing has occurred. Scars return the physical, energetic, and emotional bodies into wholeness, but not by creating something that allows you to forget that the wound happened. Instead, they remind you that there was once a wound that has now healed, so you use the energy of the wound as a source of information. Without the memory of the wound, which created by the scar, it would be easy to repeat lessons again and again because there would be no reminder of the lesson. With the scar there is a permanent reminder of the healing that has been achieved, and by blessing the scar you integrate its lessons that you no longer have to repeat. Healing and wholeness cannot occur without scars because you require reminders of your journey. But scars are a blessing, not a punishment, as they confirm wholeness and integrity, but not by returning your physical, emotional, and energetic body to your pre-wound condition. Wounds are confirmation of your willingness to fulfill your soul mission and risk being hurt. Scars confirm that you were hurt but you have healed and are now recovered in new levels of understanding. If you try to heal by not getting wounded, you will never be willing to risk the fullness of any lesson because they all have the potential for wounding. If you see the scars of confirmations of the wounds instead of the healing and return to wholeness, you will see them as a reminder of the pain and forget that they are a sign of your wholeness and new levels of integration. Bless your scars, all of them, because they represent steps on your journey that you had the courage to take and the strength to overcome. Every lesson will create wounds, places where your lessons were not easily mastered, and every wound has a scar, which is a lasting reminder of the battles you have won, and the new levels of understanding you have arrived at victoriously. By Jennifer Hoffman.
Alright, very nice. So that brings us to our meditation. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And exhale. Take another deep breath. And exhale again. And just allow yourself to feel the energies around you. And look inside and see that spark of light that shines there. And you see that spark of light, and follow that light. Follow that light back up to its source. And you see that this light flows from a divine source. A divine source in the immortal realms. This divine light is the light of the Christ, the light of the Mother, the light of the Father. This light fills us with the spirit of life, the spirit of incorruptibility and unconquerability. The spirit of life and light that flows through us gives us strength and helps us to understand and see the truth. So we thank the Great Spirit for blessing our life. Heavenly Mother, Heavenly Father, thank you for the blessings of your emanating spirit that flows through us and flows through all things. We thank you for the opportunities that are available to us to move past the challenges of this earthly existence, to understand our connection to the higher power, to the higher spirit. And we pray that all of those walking upon this earth find the courage within them to step from darkness to experience the light that shines within each and every one. So let's imagine ourselves moving through life, connected to this spirit. And let's see that spirit, that light that shines in us, just glowing bright. Let's imagine this light shining brightly from inside, glowing outward, filling the room where we are, extending outward into the neighborhood, the city, the state, expanding further out into the country, across the sea and across the earth from ends to ends. And just imagine, one by one, individuals across this earth shining bright that light. And as the light shines bright, we see the darkness dissipate. We see the archonic influence dissipate and scurry away in their powerlessness, as the kingdom of God establishes itself upon this earth. So let's go forth this weekend, this day, just shining bright that light within us, and let that be enough. So let the subconscious continue on that journey, and let's bring our conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3 coming back to this present moment filled with confidence. 2 coming back to this present moment filled with faith. And 1 coming back to this present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That's our show for today. Thank you so much. It's the shows for the week. A lot of information this week. Lots of stuff for you to go look at, listen to. It's a full story, but it all ties in together. From the Nag Hammadi, to the flat earth, to the terrarium that we're in, to the human vehicle that was intended to trap God. But let's flip the script by allowing that spirit that flows through us not to be trapped, but to be released into this world. And then we can just sit back and watch as all the darkness scatters and the Archons lose their minds as they lose control. If we pay attention in the world, we could see events of such playing out. As those in the world are losing their control, the more light and love is shined into the world. It's very fascinating to watch what's happening. Let's be good observers. Let's be good shiners of the light. And let's just make that difference one person at a time. All right? All right. I'll be back next week. Have an awesome weekend. I'll talk to you soon. I love you. Keep loving each other. Peace. I'm out of here.